Hey, what's going on, Wholesale Freedom family? This is Alex Harshman again, coming at you with another deal that I just closed for $5,000 and some change. So if you guys want to learn how I do these deals, how to make thousands and thousands of dollars on a monthly basis, please subscribe down below to my channel. It's free, and you get to learn how I do everything that I do to close these deals. Not only that, but if you can give me a thumbs up to help out the channel, that way we can help more people make some more money. And let's get right into it. So this deal came from a text blast, and the text blast software that I use is called Lead Sherpa. You have to have, so the plans that they have, they're pretty expensive. A lot of the bigger guys are using these systems, and so you got to be accepted into their program, but it's very easy, I think, in my opinion. And you got to be willing to spend, anywhere from $400 to $500 plus a month in order to make this work, because that's just for the system. Then you got to pay for the skip tracing and whatnot. But if you don't want to do that, there's other alternatives out there, and you can search those if you want. But I use Lead Sherpa, and this lead came from that. So we set up the appointment. My VA filtered the call. He was motivated. He owned a duplex. One side was rented, the other was vacant. He was just tired of being a landlord, so we found the motivation. That's number one. We want to find the motivation for why they're selling. And this guy was extremely easy to work with. He's like one of the easiest sellers I ever worked with before. And it was really cool because I did a lot of things virtual on this, even in a virtual market. And what those included were, I put a lockbox on the property. I had a realtor who wanted to show the property, put a lockbox on it for me, paid for her to do that. I even listed the contract on the MLS, and it's called an equitable interest listing, and you can list your contracts like you would wholesaling on the off-market stuff, but you can actually list it if you find a broker who's willing to do it on the MLS, which is good news because those are usually the people who are going to pay top dollar. So that's exactly what happened. I put it out on the MLS. I had it out there for like a week, and I wasn't getting anything right away, but then all of a sudden we had a realtor who had a buyer who was interested. They were going to take conventional loan on it, so that was a little bit risky, but you can do it. So me and this realtor worked it out to where we can make that work for the buyer's lender, because that's usually who has the problem. And in the state that I do virtual wholesaling, I could actually do what's called an invoice for services. So instead of an assignment fee, we just sign the purchase and sale between the seller and the buyer directly. And you're probably thinking, well, how'd you do that without the seller knowing? Well, actually, the best thing here when you're listing it on the MLS is to get their permission from the get-go. And that's exactly what we did. So we said, hey, Mr. Seller, sometimes we have people in our network who are willing to buy this property quicker than we are. Also, we like to advertise for potential buyers once we buy it and flip it. Is it okay if we put this on the MLS? And normally they're like, I don't care as long as I get my money. So that's exactly what this guy did. And I told him, I was like, hey, we got somebody who's interested at your price. Unfortunately for us, it was just a little bit too much for us to buy it for ourselves, but that doesn't change our agreement. We're still going to make that work. We have somebody who's interested. They're just going to get bank financing, but they're going to be putting down a deposit and everything just the same. But you're going to have to sign this agreement between you and the buyer directly. If you have any questions, concerns, please let me know. And this guy was like, hey, let's do it. I just want to get this thing sold. That's exactly what we did. Man, it was smooth sailing. Once we had it under contract with this realtor's buyer, the realtor and I had discussed a commission already. So when I put the listing up, you can pick kind of what commission you want to pay the realtors if they bring a buyer. So I was willing to pay 2.5%. And some things had happened towards actually the day before closing that I didn't really care for, and it actually caused me to lose a little bit of money. But it was, in order to get the deal done, I had to do it. So in the state that I virtually wholesale in, they do not put their sales commission on the contract, the purchase and sale agreement, which doesn't make any sense in my opinion. But in my state, they do. So in this state, I didn't even look for it. I just assumed because I had it on the listing, he was only going to get paid that much. Well, the day before closing, I get an email from the title company saying, hey, the realtor has raised their commission from 2.75% to 3%. I said, hold on. 2.75, we agreed on 2.5%. It was never 2.75, let alone 3%. So I texted the guy because I was in a bad area with cell service. I couldn't call him. So I texted him. I said, "Hey, what's going on? I'm just trying to understand what happened. We agreed on 2.5%." And out of nowhere, he's just like, "So you're gonna go back on your word? You agreed to 3% commission. You're gonna blow this deal up before, right before we go to closing." So this guy had me. He's been in the business for a while. He knew what he was doing. I said, I'll check the recordings because I had it recorded. And sure enough, I was right. But I said, "You know what? The 3%, you're right. We agreed to it." And I just went through with it because, well, it was either that or get no money, because this seller was not going to wait any longer. And the buyer had already done all their homework. The lender had already done all their homework. Everything was done, signed, ready to go. It's not going to blow this deal up. So lesson learned, make sure you get that in writing, even if it's not on the contract for the purchase and sale when working with realtors. Now, this is the second time I had this happen. I had a case with a realtor where they tried to hustle me in the last 2 months in this virtual market. So something's going on in the water over there, and they're just, I don't know, not ethical or what. But anyways, you live and learn, right? So next time I know. And so we closed, and the title company overnighted my check. Unfortunately, that was on Friday. So I got the check today on Monday, and we are good to go. So that's $5,000 later. I mean, I did have to show the property, so I put the lockbox on the property, so it was no problem. Had the tenant's number so I could coordinate with the showings, and the buyer had walked through 2 times, one for the inspection and then one for the home inspection. So they had like a walkthrough they wanted to do, and then one with an actual contractor. Everything was fine as it was, and even if there's something that popped up, maybe a major concern, a lot of you are probably like, "Oh man, if they've got in there more than once, they might back out." And that's very true. I don't advocate letting them in more than once at all. But in this case, you kind of work with the deal and kind of work with the thing, like the way things are. In the realtor world, they are allowed to go in and out of the property usually as many times as they want, usually. But in this case, I said, "You know what? I don't have anything to hide. That I don't think there's anything wrong with the property, so I don't have any problems with you guys getting in there." I called the seller, let them know, "Hey, these guys are going to be doing their inspections. If there's anything wrong, they're going to let us know. But, as long as you and I were honest and there's nothing major going on, we should be fine." And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing I'm hiding or anything like that." So I got a good vibe from him. He's been very easy to work with. I had no reason to believe he was lying. And sure enough, he was telling the truth. And the coolest part about this entire transaction is it went from not a wholesale deal to a deal, because at the standard 70% rule, this would have never worked. We were already over that 70%. So by putting it on the MLS, we were able to have that wiggle room. Now with that wiggle room, we were able to get the deal done. I actually had it at a $15,000 spread. So I had the contract at $135. I sold it for $150. I'd advertised it for $159. $150 was the highest I got. Paid 3% in commission, and I paid all closing costs as well. Actually, I split the closing costs because they negotiated that down as well. So this guy knew what he was doing, but he was the only solid lead that I had, so I had to kind of run with it because I did have this deal at a very high price. So, and it wasn't because I was just, let's put it out there and see what happens. It was because I knew this was a good deal. It's a duplex. People love multifamilies. And it was, producing income at least on one side, and the other side didn't need any work to get done. So very easy $5,000 for me and the team. And like I said, my VA did pretty much most of the work, filtering the call. I just did the follow-up, so about an hour and a half, 2 hours once again for $5,000. You do the math, it's amazing. And I'm going to continue to keep doing these deals. I believe this was my 12th deal total, which is also pretty cool. And we're just going to keep going up from here, guys. So I'll keep you posted on the other deals. Again, we're going out of order here because this is the most relevant time for me to post this video on the current deal that I just closed. But I'll be going through everything from I think I left off on deal 3 or 4. I'm going to go from there all the way up to 11, which was my last video. So don't worry, we're going to do some Star Wars mojo here, going out of order, but I will get them posted up here. Also, if you have any requests, any videos you want to see me do or talk about, please put it in the comment down below. Be sure to subscribe once again. Give me that thumbs up, and I'll be sure to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care. Do your hair.